Nigerians, let's face it, the future of Nigeria, at least on the surface, is a function of three agencies: INEC, law enforcement, and potentially those who get into election petition tribunals. Okay, so given that Nigeria have sort of crossed the sea when it comes to military encroachment, like Q and all of that, which isn't behind, thankfully. But now that we're in this democracy, so to say, these three agencies are the most powerful coup plotters you can think of. So, what am I saying? There are good people. There are gentlemen and women in INEC and in law enforcement, whether it's police, whether it's the army, all kinds of law enforcement officer agencies. I am calling for citizenship alliance. You see, anything that happens, no matter what it is, ends up with the police, ends up with the military. If it's about the election, it ends up with voting. Okay, how about we process this experience that happened in Abia State? In Abia State today, the miracle that we are seeing, the progress, of course, due respect to His Excellency, the governor there, Governor Dr. Oti, who is doing an awesome work. Something tells me that if Uti had multiple godfathers or hierarchies of godfathers who put him there, he'll be busy paying their loyalty and dues. But what happened in Abia was just the miracle of one woman who decided to do the right thing. The returning officer, I believe, the INEC lady the professor, I think, who decided to do the right thing and let the winner of the election actually, win the election. Okay, so how about we have more people like her in INEC, not only in INEC but also in the police, in civil defense, in all these law enforcement agencies. How about we partner citizens to citizens, become friends with the police? Quit being problem focused, there are a lot of problems with our police systems, but there are still good things happening with the police. So, you can be problem focused, and it's okay. That's your approach. But you can also be solution focused. You can be either way and be right. So, but I think there should be more and more people who are solution focused, more and more people who are honest to say, when it comes to Nigeria, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Let's put it that way. We are the outcome of all our previous choices and forfeitures. Because when you choose something, you also forfeit something, right? Yeah. So when you choose to ignore bad things that happen because it's not in your region or it's somewhere else, you have also forfeited the peace that would have been in that place. So if it turns and gets to your doorstep, it may be 10 years, 50 years, 20 years, 30 years later. You never know. That's why it's important to make sure you plant seeds and uproot the weeds. You don't just uproot the weeds and not plant, or you don't just, plant and ignore the weeds. So when you want bad people out of agencies like the police, like the tribunals, or justice systems, and like like INEC, make sure that you do not ignore positioning people there. So there should be some sort of citizen-led strategy around ensuring that we have more and more good people. If one person could make a difference in a state like Abia State, can you imagine if we have more and more people like that, especially at the lower ranks and the hierarchy as well? Okay, so we must really put on a good lens, use a good framework to see this multidimensional problems of Nigeria. Okay. And take ownership. Take ownership of this country. Take ownership. Believe it's yours. And what I mean by that is believe in Nigeria, believe in your region. As an Igbo man, I am first and foremost Onyibo. Yes, no apologies. That's who I am. I'm first and foremost Biafran. I was born in the Biafran Nigeria. I was born to Biafran parents. I am Biafran. But I'm also Nigerian because we were enslaved by Nigeria. We lost the war and we are captivated. Our region was seized. Our region was seized and broken. Remove the the area that seemed to have more resources, and put animosity around them. And the people that won the war united to federalize the resources from the region. They lost the war. That's practically what it is. We are a spoil of war in a sense. That's why somebody can come from the north and own an oil well. And probably someone who has a military background. What are you talking about? All the constitutions were imposed. We did not come to Nigeria as states. We came to Nigeria as regions. So if you came, there are 4 votes in Nigeria. The East, the West, the North, and the Middle Belt. 4 votes. Not all these 36, how many states. No. Nothing like that. It's 4. So when we come there, we don't come as individuals. We come as regions. Okay, so some people now found that in their region they have more individuals, they have more land mass. Okay, so they now saw that, oh, these people have made a mistake. There was a coup. Let's blend it. Let's now smuggle in a military decree, a military-led constitution to begin to change the narrative so that the votes will now be by numbers in a way that ultimately the people from regions that are comparatively lower in population will never be able to have the privileges they used to have as regions. What are you talking? That's exactly what happens. So if it's either you return to regions, you return Nigeria to a regional system so that we can come to the federal as the 4 regions or whatever. Now we have geographical zones of about 6. We can do that still, 6 geographical regions, and come and have 6 votes. Or you federalize citizenship, you equalize citizenship so that citizens of anybody born anywhere, anybody who decides to live resident in anywhere is equal, has equal rights with those who are born there. If you cannot retain regional privileges that were exclusive to regional system and still dictate or insist on a federalism. That's the problem. That's the problem. And that's why, if you look at us, these our brothers who are saying Biafra or nothing, they have looked at it because they looked at it and said there is no headway. There is no headway because at the center is the manipulation, is the juxtaposition of the essence of why we're there. Okay, if some people say the history have, these things have happened for years, have happened for about 30 decades, the state structures have come to stay, fine and good. Then we shouldn't have a one country, a federal, a united nation, one country running 2 constitutions. That's uncalled for. You can't have 2 constitutions running. In fact, there should be no Sharia anywhere in Nigeria if Nigeria is not returning back to regions. Then, and there should be there shouldn't be identification by place of origin. What is the point? Place of ancestral origin. These are tools of manipulations, tools of wickedness. Citizenship should be by place of birth, by marriage, by place of residence, where you pay your tax. They do it. Nigerians outside of Nigeria enjoy citizenship right, equal citizenship rights with people from those countries. Can you imagine in Nigeria, Igbos, for example, in Lagos, are tortured, killed, manipulated, their properties destroyed for being Nigeria in Nigeria? Wait a minute. You have to come clean. Come clean. Choose one. It's either you admit that we are slaves who you captured during the war and took their resources as spoil of war, or you admit that We return back to regions so that each region will take care of themselves and practice their religion and practice their cultural practice and have their chiefs or emirs or obas or ezes to dictate for them. Or you accept through federalism. Through federalism, so that every Nigerian is first and foremost a Nigerian before they are who they are in terms of cultural identity or ethnic identity. So the confusion is wanting to retain regional dominance, regional privileges. You want, for example, an Oba in the West to determine who people should vote for or not. That can happen in a regional system and it will be maybe okay. But it's not okay in a federal system. You cannot federalize the resources from the former Eastern region and make it a national cake, yet you will not equalize citizenship. No, citizenship should also be a national cake. That means you should come from anywhere. I should be free to go to the heart of Sokoto and practice my religion and live there if I choose to, and vote and be voted for as a citizen. You see, we're not ready for the truth of federalism. That's the truth. Nigerians are not ready for it. So, Nigerians are also, those in power are also not willing to grant regionalism so that resources can go back to the region or people can go back to their region. Or we can even start with just go back to your region and then gradually talk about resource control and how the resource sharing and all of that. No, they don't want that. They not want to continue to regionalize the natural resources there, the uranium, the natural, the gold and all of those things there. The West wants to regionalize their waters and have all these privileges that come from their land, but then they want the one from the southeast. I'm talking of the front south, the original southeast. Because of a war that was from manipulation. So somebody can look back. I mean, if we take the account of Babangida and some other people too, who now we're hearing from non-Igbos, but at least you can, if the truth is that these were manipulations, Igbos never planned to use the coup to kill non-Igbos so that they can control Nigeria. If it is true, then there should be compensation paid to Igbos, because all of these deaths, all of these things, hatred and all of these things that's happening to us is because of that. The people coming out of war who have lost millions of people, you're telling them that they're educationally advantaged. I have to score higher than my peers who are Hausas and Northers to be able to gain admission into the same federal schools. And you think it's right. And people are getting angry. I know we are confused as Igbos, for example. We have of course, who wouldn't be united? Who wouldn't be disunited? If you go through any group that goes through what Igbos went through, will be disunited. We're talking of a war of starvation, war of hunger for 3 years. That automatically restructures it changes the cultural dynamics. It changes value system. Survival becomes the most paramount thing. That's what we're talking about. That war alone, that trauma of that war restructured the patterns and pathways and hierarchy and structures that has helped Igbos in the past. And I've made the argument that pre-war Igbos are like mostly different than the war and post-war Igbos. We are generally a people in recovery. We are recovering from what is called intergenerational trauma. And that's why they manipulate us. That's why, what they're doing is sort of manipulate our triggers, our trauma triggers. Because once you sort of manipulate someone's triggers, the brain resorts back to the original state at the time the trauma experience occurred. So the people with trauma don't just want to feel, it's not that they don't want to change, they just can't because they're stuck. They're stuck. And so on daily basis, all this military manipulations over policing in the south, you're policing a place and then it's still the most unsafe place. Okay? It's all those sidelining and marginalization of Igbos and not giving them appointments, throwing them away, or ignoring all the federal character and everything that was agreed to. All of these things are reminders. They are triggers. You re-traumatize Igbos on daily basis. Okay? So, I'm saying that Igbos are people in recovery, and it's okay what you do, as long as, some people don't care what they do, as long as they're fine, others can go to hell. If it's their choice, that's okay, that serves you. But the truth is you can't be up and be down at the same time. You can't have regional system and have federal system at the same time. They are not the same. Okay, the type of true federalism that we're talking about that revolves around states representation. No, you have to have equal representation. And because you have chosen to keep to your place, you make it all this region, you want to regionalize privileges, then go back to regions. That's the only way this country can move forward. Regions. You people have been enjoying all this unearned privileges for years and years and years. I don't know that anybody's better off. We are all stuck. Collectively, we can move forward. The choice is yours. Whether we go to a regional system, that is okay. We can make it work. When we go to federalism, let's make it work. Let's make it work. Let's put competence where competence should be. Equal representation where it should be. You can't do all this crab mentality, ethnic superiority. People feel that their life is more important than others. You manipulate agencies of government that should keep the society safe. Using agencies of government to perpetuate injustice. Ignore people, human beings like you dying, and you're not interested because they don't come from your region. A whole region close shop on one day, having four weekdays. Every Monday, sit at home. And people are killing and dying, they can't go home, and you're happy because it doesn't affect you. Yet you go to Saudi Arabia and you feel accepted. You like the way things are. You go to America, you go to England, you see how these things are. In fact, if you even want to see how decayed things are, is to reflect on what happened in Lagos State during the past election. Look at what educated people were saying. People who have citizenship in other countries are so ethnically blinded.